Carson Hocevar was scored the leader of the Quaker State 400 with 1 lap to go, and he lost anyway, not because he got outdriven, because the car right behind him would rather shove a Penske Ford all the way to victory lane than give the number 77 Chevrolet a single push. Watch that finish again and it is all there in one frame. Everybody at the front had a partner on their bumper. Hocevar had open air. And that is not an accident anymore. So what happens to the sport's loudest young villain when the whole garage quietly agrees to stop helping him? And is the bad boy brand that made him famous the exact thing now keeping him stuck on a single lucky win? Here is why this is bigger than one lost trophy. Carson Hocevar has exactly 1 cup win. Just one. And it came at Talladega, a drafting track, where the finish is decided by who agrees to push you, not by who is quickest on their own. It is the one kind of victory in this sport you cannot take by yourself. You have to be handed it. Almost every track left that could hand him another one works the same way. Daytona, Talladega, the superspeedway math is brutal and simple. A leader with nobody on his back bumper is a sitting duck every single time. So if the garage has quietly made a collective decision about Carson Hocevar, it does not cost him one race. It removes the only kind of race he has ever won. And the man who said that out loud this week was not some anonymous account online. It was Denny Hamlin. Start with what actually happened, because the finishing order hides it. Ryan Blaney led 171 of the 263 laps at Atlanta, close to 2 out of every 3 laps run all night. For most of the night, it was not close. Then a Kyle Larson crash dragged the whole thing into overtime. The field stacked back up, and on that final restart, it was Hocevar scored out front. For 1 lap, the scoreboard said he was winning. The scoreboard was about to lie to him. Then the lanes formed. Christopher Bell threw his bumper on Blaney and drove that Ford to the front. The finish went 3 wide at the stripe, and Blaney took it by 68 thousandths of a second, a margin too small to see with the naked eye. And Hocevar, the scored leader, the man supposedly winning the race, came home third with nothing but clean air behind him the whole way. Nobody picked his lane. Nobody picked him. And here's the first thing the highlight reel will not tell you. Hocevar walked away calling it a choke. His word. He said he choked it away. That is the word of a man who thinks the failure lived in his own hands on the wheel. That one word is where the whole thing cracks open, because the drivers who beat him do not think he choked at all. They think something much colder happened. And one of them went on a podcast and said it plainly. Denny Hamlin gave it a full segment on his Actions Detrimental podcast within hours, and he did not treat it as bad luck. He treated it as a bill coming due. You can't tell the drivers if you want a war, bring it, and then expect them to help you out on the racetrack, Hamlin said. Sit with that. This is not a rookie popping off. Hocevar built his entire public identity on inviting the war. The trash talk, the run-ins, the swagger. Hamlin is saying the swagger carries a price, and the price is the one thing horsepower cannot buy him, a friend at the white flag. And then Hamlin let something slip that turns a bad night into a real problem. This is not a call drivers make in the heat of a last lap. He said some have already made up their minds in advance. No matter what, they will not push Carson Hocevar to a victory. Let that land, not in the moment, not out of anger. Decided ahead of time, sitting in a room as policy. Premeditated, not provoked. That is not a driver having a rough race. That is a driver who has been quietly voted off the island and does not fully know it yet. And this is the part that should worry Spire Motorsports. Hamlin's framing was cold and simple. You do not race the fans. You race the other drivers, and there are far more of them than there are of Carson Hocevar. The crowd loves the villain. The crowd does not put a bumper on you at the white flag. The people who do are the exact ones the whole act is built to antagonize. And the Atlanta finish proves the policy is already live. Look at who did the pushing. Christopher Bell drives a Toyota. Ryan Blaney drives a Ford. On that last lap, a Toyota threw its bumper behind a rival manufacturer's Ford and drove it to the win, while the Chevrolet scored as the leader got nothing at all. In the draft, alliances usually form around the badge on the hood, a Chevrolet in front pulling other Chevrolets to its bumper. Around Hocevar, they did not form at all. The manufacturer math said help the Chevy. The garage math said help anyone but him. Because none of this started at Atlanta, go back to Michigan, where Hocevar triggered a 9-car pileup on a restart, a wreck that swept up the points leader and, of all people, Denny Hamlin himself. By the time he left that weekend, the story around the garage was not how fast the 77 was. It was how many enemies it was collecting. Then came Chicagoland, where he and Zane Smith tangled and both ended up in the wall. Days before Atlanta, Smith went on racing with the boys and questioned his nerve in public. NASCAR hauled them both in to cool it down, and afterward Smith would not even promise to race him cleanly. Atlanta was not a single bad break. It was the newest line in a ledger the garage has been keeping all season. And this is where the whole story flips. Hocevar thinks he choked. Hamlin's answer to that is the most damaging sentence anyone has aimed at him all year. Just because you start on the front row, it doesn't mean you get the push. You cannot choke a race you were never truly leading. Hocevar was scored the leader, but a scored leader with an empty bumper at a draft track is not winning anything. He was already beaten the second the lanes formed without him. This was never about one restart he fumbled. It was about a garage that decided the number 77 does not get helped, and a driver who still believes the problem is his own nerve. So let's be honest about what the villain brand is actually buying him. The edits do numbers. The feuds trend. The persona has made Carson Hocevar one of the most talked about drivers in the sport with just one cup win next to his name. And that is a real achievement in attention. But attention and cooperation are different currencies, and you cannot spend one at the other's register. One buys clicks, the other buys trophies. At a road course or an intermediate, raw speed can still carry him. At every drafting track left on the schedule, the ones where another win is most gettable, the result is decided by a favor, and he has spent a full season making sure nobody owes him one. Denny Hamlin boiled the whole thing down to 9 words. You can't disrespect them on and off the track. There is a way back. Ross Chastain built the exact same villain reputation, got wrecked and shoved around for it, then changed, and now the garage races him clean. The blueprint is sitting right there in the same garage. Hamlin all but walked Hocevar to that door. The only question left is whether a driver whose entire brand is the war can afford to stop fighting it. Hocevar keeps asking why the wins will not come. Maybe the better question is the one the whole garage has already answered for him. When you build a brand on making enemies, who is left to push you at the white flag? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video appearing on your screen right now.